So I want to talk about Yuki. Just to preface this, I am anti Yuki. I consider myself like a Yuki hater, so like take all this with a grain of salt. However, I think that this actually like kind of like a pro Yuki video, weirdly. So even though I kind of don't like Yuki, I'm not. I actually think I'm coming out kind of positive. That being said, like just to sort of say the reason why I don't like Yuki is because I don't like the way he talks to his race engineers. I just think it's rude. And I think that he kind of has this view on people who work for him that they're like below him and inferior. And there's one specific moment in Drive to Survive that really kind of stuck out to me, where Yuki and his trainer were at a restaurant, and he complains that the waiter puts the rice in the wrong area. And he says there are rules, and the trainer's like, "Well, you hate rules." And Yuki couldn't really square that circle, but in my mind, like what I kind of saw was like Yuki believes that there should be no rules for him, but there should be rules for other people working for him. And I think that's just a very selfish attitude that I don't like. Anyway, putting that aside, I was looking at the qualifying today. I wasn't able to watch it because it wasn't on ESPN Plus, and I saw like, oh hey, Yuki's eighth. I was like, even though I don't like him, I do. It's kind of hard to like really dislike Yuki. So I was like, oh, like hopefully he'll do well. And so what I did was, I like looked at the rest of the season, um, Yuki this year. And I was like, oh, he qualified 11th, finished 14th. He qualified ninth, and he finished 14th. I was like, oh, he might not actually like do that well. So like, what I kind of wanted to do was just kind of like talk about what I think the problem with Yuki is, and kind of go into these numbers a little bit more and see if like this is actually like a huge problem. So if you look at Yuki the last 3 years, like he doesn't actually do that poorly, right? 14th in his rookie year. No, I think this is actually reversed. Um, yeah, so his rookie year 2021, he comes in 14th with 32 points. His sophomore year, 12 points, and last year 17 points. So he's kind of been like in the back of the pack, but that's like not very different than like what you see from like other good Toro Rossos. Like Ricardo got 27, got 18th and 14th. Signs, he got 15th, 14th, and ninth in Toro Rosso. Max, he got 12th and he got 5th, but that's because he was also in a Red Bull that year. And then, Sebastian Vettel got, 14th and 8th. So, like, you'd expect him to do a slightly better, but, like, not that much better. And, Yuki this year, qualifying versus race, as I said, he like really falls off. So I just kind of want to like go a little bit more into the numbers and see if this is like an endemic problem, right? Like, is this just this year he's been sliding, or is it like something that's been happening his whole career? So let's look at the numbers. So I did all this by hand, but yeah. So if you look at 2021, right? So you look at all of the races, and this is actually like in reverse chronological order. His qualifying and his finishing, right? Like where he qualified and where he finished. Eighth, fourth, etc. Right? In total, he lost 12 spots, right? But actually, like within the point scoring situations, I did that incorrectly. So we're just gonna do this together, right? Like within point scoring situations, like he actually lost like his performance was a lot worse. Um, so his total points in point scoring situations, right, was four, minus six, minus five. And actually, it's actually nice that we're doing this together, so that when I do it in the future with the other years, you're gonna know, how I kind of do this. And what I'm doing is I'm taking account both the years and um, I'm taking into account both the times that like he um, qualified high and finished low, but also the times where he qualified low and finished high because I think he kind of deserves that, right? So like within the point score situations, he actually gained 2 spots, which is good, but he also lost a total of 5 points. Like if you sum all of this up, he lost a total of 5 points. And given that he had 32 total points that year, that's a lot of points to lose. That's 1/6 of your points, right? Now look at 2022, similar type of thing, right? So in total, he lost 21 spots. So 2021 lost 2, 2022 he lost 21. And within the point scoring situations that you kind of saw me do my hand, he lost a total of 14 spots, which means that like in situations where he was in a position to gain points, because Toro Rosso is back of the grid. You have a lot of times where you're 16th, 19th, 15th, 13th, 19th, right? And like, yeah, gaining and losing is kind of important on that, but it's really important to be good when you can actually score points. He lost a total of 14 spots. Which reflected with -5 points, but that's primarily, because he got, sixth here, right? But yeah, that's just like kind of like abysmal, to for me. And his total points that year was 12. So literally, had he just stayed at the level that he was at in qualifying to the race, he would have gotten 50% more points in 2022. And this is important because like when you're in the where you're in the back of the pack, right? Like you can like the nice thing is you can blame your car, right? You can always say like, oh, if I was in a nicer car, if I was on the Red Bull, I could do better, right? But the thing is that like qualifying is the purest test of your car. This is the reason why Charles Leclerc always qualifies great and finishes poorly, because the Ferrari car is a rocket ship. It's just the Ferrari strategy is terrible. And you can see based on and so like based upon this, you can see that Yuki Tsunoda is a way better racer when he's on the track by himself than when he has other people on the track. And like, let's look at last year. Last year, he actually gained 5 total spots, which is nice. But the problem is, within point scoring situations, he lost 13 spots because he gained a lot of like 20 to 18. There was like one particularly 17 to 11, right? Like, but that doesn't do anything. That doesn't matter at all to the team. Like, what matters to the team is going from sixth to fourth. Although, like, one thing I do have to shout him out for was 16th to ninth. That was a pretty good jump, right? So, anyway, if you look like, total points lost was 5 points, which is about a third of his total points that he lost. So, my feeling about Yuki, after looking at his numbers, is that it seems like, like Christian Horner always talks really well about him. He calls him like a pocket rocket, like he's really quick. But the problem with Yuki is that he just, it's a manifestation of the temper that he has, where it seems that like when he's on track, he's just not able to stay composed, not able to like do his business. And maybe last year he learned how to beat some of the lower drivers, and outrace them. But when he gets to higher racers, he has a huge problem, right? Where he just loses points left and right. The reason why I kind of said that this is a pro Yuki video, though, I think on balance, is that I think that is like kind of a solvable problem. Like the fact of the matter is that he is really fast, and keeping him in the Toro Rosso like doesn't really do anything bad for Red Bull. It also keeps Honda happy. But he can get better. Like he can become a better driver. Like the problem that you have with drivers is people like you know Pierre Gasly, who I just don't think is a very fast driver, right? Like but Yuki just seems like the type of person who you know needs to mature a little bit, needs to learn how to race with better drivers, and once he does that, like he qualified sixth in a Toro Rosso. Like that's pretty impressive. Qualifying eighth, qualifying ninth. Like if he gets into a Red Bull, I think his qualifications are gonna be really good. The problem is that he's gonna self implode on track, and that's where the negatives are gonna come from. So yeah, I think that Yuki's, based off of this information, I think generally Yuki's a good driver. He just needs to like learn how to actually drive a little bit better.